guys. Hey, we're live. Hello, good morning from Australia. I'm just going to organize myself for a couple of minutes because you know the beginning of a Facebook Live is always waiting for people to recognize that it's on and to come join. So I'm going to organize my phone so I make sure I get all of your comments this time, whatever you guys want to talk about. And I'm also going to adjust my computer so you get to see my beautiful sunflowers. Look at these guys. Amazing. Maybe if I go a little bit more that way. And you can see my beautiful hats in the background as well. Lovely. Lovely. This. See? This is what Facebook Lives are all about. Hi, Pauline. Hi, guys. Hi, everyone joining. So this is my Facebook Live that I was meant to do yesterday, and I'm very sorry. My amazing friend, Simone Milicis, is doing a Choice of Possibilities class at the moment. And so I'm just going to make sure my AirPods are connected. Yes. And we're doing it, you know, it's online. Most people are joining online. Hi, Jody. Good morning. But we're doing it from her house in Peregian Beach here on the Sunshine Coast. So yeah, I've been going there to attend the class live with Francesca and Diva. So it doesn't finish until sort of 11 o'clock at night for us here. And then, you know, the drive home, I wasn't in bed until almost 1 a.m. And then I just had so much awareness and a lot of things came up from that first day of class. So I'm very grateful. I did postpone this Facebook Live by 24 hours. I just needed to give myself that little bit of space to wake up a little bit slower yesterday morning and not be up at 5 a.m. to get ready for a Facebook Live. But I'm super pumped today and excited to be here with you guys. So I wanted to talk about judgment and what I asked a question in the group. Let me just bring it up on my phone so I can also be looking at your responses while I'm talking to you. So I asked a question in the group about what does judgment mean to you, I think, or what does judgment mean? And I asked this because my brother, Brendan Watt, actually asked it on a telecall or something he was doing recently that I heard him ask that question, what does judgment mean? And I was like, wow, my mind just went like blank. It was very interesting to try and figure it out in a way. So I asked in the group here what judgment means to you guys, and now my internet's being very slow. And some of the answers that came up, it's like all of these things that we place so much importance and significance on this thing called judgment. And what if it was just an invention? What if it was literally just something we've invented to stop ourselves and slow ourselves down? Like I remember hearing Simone talk about Gary the day he realized that judgment was nothing but a big, deep, dark black hole that creates nothing. He's like, I'm going to stop. I'm going to stop judging myself. I'm going to stop judging anyone else. And from that moment on, he made that a priority to not judge himself or anyone else anymore because he saw it created absolutely nothing. So I guess it's like, what can I contribute to? And it doesn't mean, God, I still judge myself all the time. And I know a lot of people do. I know a lot of people that even acknowledge and recognize how much of an invention and a waste of time judgment is and how it actually doesn't create anything, but we still do it. It's not like you get to a point when you wake up and it's like, oh, I'm judgment free now. And I mean, you know, what would it take that we could get to that place? But it's not about making judgment wrong or being like, if you judge, you should then judge yourself for judging or make it more wrong. But it's more just this place of like shining a light on it in a way. You know, when you're willing to be aware of something, you can change it. If you're not being willing to be aware of something, you can't change it. So it's like, what if it was just that first step with judgment, to be willing to be aware of the fact that it really doesn't create anything at all? And so that every time it comes up in your world, what if you could just acknowledge it and be like, hey, I'm judging again. Hey, there's that judgment energy, there's that judgment thing. And then choose something different. And what if we never had, because it's like judgment is Like, how many times do we think we need to judge something in order to change it, especially with our bodies? Like, I need to work out more because whatever, my tummy's too big, or I need to judge this as being wrong and then do this to fix it. Like, that's just all this whole melting pot of invention and lies, and it's really not true. It's really not true. And I think it doesn't mean I have the answer. Oh, well, now if you just do this, you'll get the results that you want. But I think it's this exploration in this journey that if we're all willing to, first of all, recognize that judgment doesn't change anything, it really doesn't work, and then acknowledge and recognize and be aware when we're doing it and be willing to be super present in that moment and change it. And then ask some questions about, what's truly possible here? What's truly possible to change beyond thinking we need to use judgment to change it? And what if we were all willing to go there together and just see what shows up? Like, what if we don't even know yet? What if it's like this unknown part of this journey in our bodies, like this embodiment on this planet in this lifetime? Because you look back over over this lifetime, over generations before us, and it's something that for as long as most of us can remember, or anywhere, hi Ruth, for as long as any of us can remember or see, it's always been here. It's always been a part of us. So what if right now we are the people that can change it? And what if it was easy? Like, what if changing it? Thank you, my love. That's wonderful, because I'm like, I feel like my eyes are still half closed. I just woke up. Just been in the Choice of Possibilities class with Simone. So I got to bed at about 1 a.m. this morning. So, but it's been phenomenal. I mean, and that's the thing, like even looking at access consciousness classes or whatever you're choosing in your life, like whatever you are, whatever's a priority for you, whatever you're passionate about, whatever is one of those big things that excites the hell out of you. And for me, access classes do. And I'm fortunate enough that I work full time for access consciousness, and I get to attend, all of the classes and telecalls. So I get to see, all of the facilitators, but especially Simone, Brendan, Gary, and Dane continually stepping up and choosing beyond anything that they've ever been told was possible. And I think with judgment and with everything like this, like what if it was all that same, what if it was all that same formula? But it's not a formula like it can't be changed. But what if the formula was like us just being willing to recognize that this has never been changed before? And what can we be to be the catalyst and the ones that actually change it now? And I remember when we went into lockdown last year, it's been just over a year now, we were all in Budapest in Hungary, just about to do the certified facilitator training there. And then it was like, oh, actually, I think we need to go home. I think it's time to leave. And we all jumped on a plane and went in our various directions. And in Australia here, it was myself and Simone, Francesca, Mark, we've got like so many amazing people living here, and all around the world, there's pockets of just brilliant, amazing access and, brilliant people. And I remember being like, wow, like this is something, this, whatever COVID is, this lockdown thing, whatever's going on right now is very different. It's something that we've not seen in our lifetimes, well, my lifetime so far, where we've been kind of forced into this place of like everything stopping. The planes stopped flying, a lot of people stopped going anywhere because we were put into sort of this hiatus and stay in your homes. So I started looking at like, you watch so many of those zombie apocalypse movies, and obviously here's Frankie's obligatory hello into the Facebook Live appearance. Look, say hello. Say hello. Okay, up down. Good girl. You watch all those zombie apocalypse movies, and it's like something happens, and then they open the doors again to this whole new world outside. And I started thinking, like, because I knew I had to spend 14 days in quarantine. I wasn't meant to leave the house, and I didn't. I was very good. My mum did my shopping and brought it over and dropped it off, and I stayed home. And so I started playing with and looking at, okay, if I opened the doors to my house in 14 days and stepped outside into post-quarantine future reality, what would I like that to look like? And the big thing that came up for me was, imagine if I stepped out the door into a world where no one judged themselves or anyone else. And I really started like just sitting with that energy of what that would be like literally just walking down the street. And it's not like we're yelling judgments at each other, or it's not like most people are like outwardly mean to one another, but there's such an underlying energy in the world of judgment. People judging themselves, people judging each other, people judging mostly themselves, especially us, like the people that are the seekers, the humanoids, the ones that are wanting to create something a little bit different in this world. We tend to judge our bodies, ourselves as partners, as parents, as like whatever that is. And I was like, imagine if you walked outside and it was like the energy was not there. The judgment energy was totally gone. And I was like, wow. And so like, what if that's also just the first step, recognizing that that is a priority or a dream or an ask or a demand that you have in your world, to live in a world where we don't judge ourselves or anyone else or anything else. Because, we even judge things. Like, how often do we judge something in our house, or that our house is too dirty, or it's not big enough, or, our car's not the fastest car, or I wish my car was better, or I wish I had a newer car, or something like that. Like all those places where we direct this energy at things that they're not good enough is the places that we judge them. And so I started looking at, imagine living in a world where none of that existed, and the space that would be available because of how much of the space is currently occupied by that judgment energy. And so I really just wanted to look at, like, I don't have the answer to stop judging. It's not like, okay, follow this formula and you'll be free of judgment. But what I do know is that every time I've seen something different being created in this world, like where people know there's a different possibility available and they actually go after it and create it, it's where people are willing to try something different and to recognize, oh, this actually isn't working. And rather than just being like, this isn't working, I'm going to try my best not to do it anymore, and then I'll do it and I'll be like angry at myself for doing it, and like this continual snowball cycle of things. Like the places I've seen things change is where people are really willing to go, hey, I wonder if we tried something really different here, what it would create. And that's what I'm hoping with this sort of stuff, is to go, okay, so we all recognize that judgment doesn't actually create anything for us. It definitely doesn't create anything for our bodies. Well, it does. It creates the place where we actually solidify everything that we're judging. So if we're judging my belly's too big, or my bum's too big, or yes, I will speak on that. Just give me 2 minutes. Like wherever we're judging that thing on our body as being, not good enough, or to this, or not enough of that, it's not that thing that is wrong. It's the judgment that actually solidifies it into place. And this is where we really like do ourselves a disservice, because we think if we can just change that thing, we'll be happy. But it's actually the judgment itself that's locking it into place, and also where we lock in our dissatisfaction, our unhappiness. So it's not and this is where like it's a real catch-22 situation, and where we really lock ourselves into this place where we feel like we can't change something. And it's like weight loss. Like how many of you have lost weight only to put the weight back on, or put it on in a different area, or something where you're like, okay, if I can lose this weight, I'll be happier. I won't be happy, but I'll be happier. I'll be less judgmental of my body. So you go on like a fasting plan or an extreme exercise plan or a detox plan or a diet plan or something like that, and you lose a certain amount of weight. And you might maybe have a glimpse of being happy with yourself or proud of yourself. And then how often do you put that weight back on? Or you shift that judgment or that wrongness of your body to something else? So what if it's not our bodies that we're actually in conflict with? And what if it's just the judgments that we have? And, you know, a lot of when I ask the question in the chat as well about, in the group about what do you think is impossible? What do you think is impossible with your body? Most people said about weight loss or being fit and losing weight kind of thing. And so I started looking at, so if you woke up tomorrow morning and just all of a sudden you looked in the mirror and you had your version of a perfect body, what would that create for you? Would you still judge yourself? Would you still find something wrong with your body, that it wasn't good enough? Would you actually walk out into the world and receive everyone's lust and adoration? Or would that be way too overwhelming for you? Because that's the other thing as well. It's like, if we had this body that we truly thought was like this total gift to the world, and little secret, you actually already do have that body. You're just not willing to use it to your advantage. But if we in our world had this body that was this image of perfection, would you actually be able to handle that? To walk down the street and have people ogle you and, you know, wolf whistle at you from the car or give you compliments all the time about how stunningly beautiful you look? Do we use our bodies as a way to hide that and not receive that level of adoration, lust, you know, acknowledgement? So also to look at the places where we use judgment to stop ourselves and to hide ourselves. Because it's like, if I can just judge myself enough, no one else will need to do it, because I'm doing such a good job of it myself. So Atali asks, can you speak on eating for others? Yeah, sure. And I think what you mean by that is sometimes when you're hungry, it's like, am I actually hungry, or is it that my body's picking up on something else? And what I would ask as well with this is, what if it's not eating for others, but what if it's like, what are you actually hungry for? So how often are you like, I'm hungry, but you don't ask the question of like, hey body, what are you actually hungry for? Is it actually food? Because the other thing with our bodies is they give us constantly, they're feeding us information. And sorry if you can hear a noise in the background, my dog's chewing on a bone right beside me. So they're constantly feeding us this information. And if our body is feeding us a signal of I'm hungry, and we conclude that that means I need to eat, like I'm hungry to put food in my mouth, like where are we actually taking, like where have we decided the information our body is giving us means X, Y, or Z, and instead of asking a question? And even if yesterday, when your body gave you the information, I'm hungry for food, and you were like, hey body, do you want to eat something? And it's like, yeah, I'd love to eat something. So you eat something. 5 minutes later, your body gives you that information, that message again, doesn't necessarily mean it's the same. Like, our bodies are just trying different things to get us to receive what they're aware of, what they know, or what they require or desire. So what if when you're hungry, you ask your body a question, hey body, what are you hungry for? And the other thing is, if you do get the sense that you're hungry, but you're not hungry for you, ask your body, is this yours? Are you hungry for you, or are you hungry for someone else? But what I get is less that we're eating for other people and more that we're eating to replace something that our body requires that isn't actually food. So is it energy that your body's hungry for? Is it exercise, movement? Like, how often is your body hungry because it desires to actually move? Is it actually desiring liquids like water? Is it desiring to be filled with the energy of nature or an animal or a hug from a child? Like, what is your body actually hungry for? And this is where the big secret here with everything with this, with everything in the world, basically in life in general, is ask a question and never, ever, ever conclude that this means this. And even with your body, even if you go to the gym or whatever you choose to do to create movement with your body, and today it's like you go and do it and your body is like, oh my God, that was so much fun. You during the movement, you're so happy, your molecules are alive, you feel alive afterwards, you feel so alive. You wake up tomorrow, you need to ask your body again, hey, how do you want to move today? What do you want to do for movement? Because the other thing with bodies is there's a certain amount of consistency and routine they like, but they also love change and they love to do things differently a lot. Like, how often do you change your hairstyle? How often do you change the clothes that you wear? And how often do you ask your body, hey, like, how would you like this to look for you? And what if, like, the big secret, because I know this Facebook Live is about judgment, but it's funny that everything is, intertwined and feeds into each other. What if the place for getting out of judgment is question? And what if, like, where you have gone to judging your body for certain things, whatever it is, this is too big, this is not big enough, this is not strong enough, is all just been because over time you've stopped asking your body questions about things and you've just gone to a conclusion. Because every time your body doesn't care if you weigh 50 kilos or if you weigh 200 kilograms, your body doesn't go, oh my God, I'm horrible and ugly and I'm too skinny or I'm too fat. Your body's like, what do you need from me? What do you want to do? How do you want me to show up in the world? And if the signals you're feeding it are, you're too skinny, you're too skinny, you're too skinny, you're too fat, you're too fat, you're too fat, it's like, okay, I'll do more of that. That must be what you want because it's what you're constantly focused on. It's where your energy is pointed and what you're telling me. So what if it all just begins with getting out of conclusion and asking a question? And it won't be like this linear thing of like, there's no real like set regime to this. I wish there was. It would probably make things a lot easier, but probably a lot more boring as well. What if it was this thing called 10-second increments of choice? So 10-second increments of choice is one of the basic tools in access consciousness. It's funny how the basic ones are usually the ones that nobody uses and are actually the most dynamic. What if your body is actually the best example of something that exists in 10-second increments of choice? So what if just even if you don't do it all day, every day, like what if just you started with for 10 minutes a day, you lived in 10-second increments of choice with your body? And what that does, like, or what that will start to do is get you out of constantly trying to create for the future and being present right now. Like, how often with our bodies is everything we're choosing, it's like, I need to do this for a result for tomorrow, or I need to do this so in a week's time this will change, or I need to do this so this will happen, this will occur. What if our bodies don't even have a concept about the future? What if what they're interested in is what you're choosing right now? And what if every choice you're making right now in every 10 seconds is what actually creates that future? So I know I've gone in a lot of kind of directions on this, but I just wanted to start to give you guys a bit of a download of what I've become aware of with changing judgment with our bodies and in the world. and where I get, we can all start to, I think every time one of us chooses something different like this, even if it's just for a moment, even if you're like, oh shit, I forgot, and now I'm judging myself again. Or you walk past a window and you catch your reflection and you judge it. Rather than being like, oh, you know, you'd catch your reflection and your tummy's sticking out a little bit. And you're like, oh, my tummy looked a little bit big then. Rather than being like, you know, rather than either buying into that judgment as being real or then judging yourself for judging your tummy again, what if you just looked at it and was like, oh, I just did that thing where I went to that automatic response and conclusion of judgment. And what if you went, what's something different I could choose here? In this 10 seconds, what can I choose that would create something different? And what if just every time we were willing to do that, it was like this piggy bank where every time you were willing to do something like that, to just in the moment choose something different, you were adding coins to everything on this planet and in the universe about judgment changing. And what if that's all it took? If it wasn't this thing where you needed to wake up one day and be like, oh, I am now free of judgment. Like, what if that was never even a priority in your world? What if your priority was just adding a coin to that piggy bank at every opportunity that you could? And what if that, like, how much easier is that? How much is it just like, oh, and how much do your bodies just kind of relax? Because how much do we also place the responsibility on our bodies to change so that we stop judging them? Like, where do we give our bodies the responsibility to be better, to not be so bad, to change so then we can stop judging them? It's like, it doesn't create this friendship, this bond that if you had something different with your body, if you had a place where you worked together to change this, like how much easier on both of you could it be to change it? And then every time you make that change, how much do you contribute to it changing everywhere in the world? Because this thing called consciousness, it's very interesting. It's so interwoven with itself and with each other and with everything else that wherever anyone in the world is looking at this and desiring to change it, you are connected with them through the fabrics of consciousness. And I know this is getting like a little deep, but it's true. And you can look for reason and justification in places where you've got proof of this before, but I guarantee this is how it works. Just believe me. So when you're willing to look at this thing called judgment that maybe at least 99% of the rest of the people on this earth are also looking at, if you can create something that creates that ping of energetic change, it's going to start rippling out to the world and being a contribution to anyone else that's willing to go where you're willing to go with it. And you don't ever have to meet that person or talk to them or do a Facebook Live and talk about it. You just need to be willing to change it. And then it starts changing it for everyone else. So, yeah, Jody said, I am not skinny. That's another thing you can do. You can manipulate your body using things like if everything you judge is what you get more of, what you can do is judge the things that you don't have so that your body starts to change those things. Yeah, well, that's very true as well. And I did a lot of that too, Jody. Like I had a stepdad. I was such a, like I saw photos, like I always thought I was like this chubby child because that was the projection from, and you know, this is a bit of a rabbit hole to go down right at the end of a Facebook Live, but as children, a lot of things are projected at us about our bodies. You know, a lot of things are projected about how we should look, and there's a lot of underlying reasons about that, and the reason why parents and adult figures do that sort of fucked up shit to kids, which is probably a bit too much to go into on a Facebook Live right now. But it's so true. Like what Jody's saying in the comments is there was this projection to be skinny. So how often do we do the fuck you thing and go and get fat to be like in control or to piss people off, especially in teenage years when that's like the most important thing, is to annoy your parents and the authoritarian figures in your life. So yeah, and that's a whole nother thing as well, but thank you for bringing it up. And look at that, look at the times in your life where you change things in your body to either match or to reject people's projections at you. And what if that was just part of just acknowledging that people are going to project things at you and it's not real, it's like judgment. Yeah. There was one other thing I was going to say before I wrap this up, and now I can't remember what it was. Oh, yes, I do. So Fabiola, the amazing person who does a lot of my social media, was talking to me because I've got, I live on property here and I've got 3 horses, and Ollie is my main horse. He's my horse that I've had now for almost a year, maybe a bit less, 10 months. And she was asking about, how does Ollie contribute to your body? Like, she wanted to create a post on social media for me. And I looked at this thing with animals, and horses are amazing because they're such open books. They don't, sometimes dogs will do things to please you. They're very much like a people-pleasing kind of animal. Like, they really want to make you happy and to contribute to you in that way, to please you. Whereas horses don't. Most of them don't. They're very much an open book, and they're very much like, here I am. So horses have contributed to me in so many ways, but Fabiola was asking in particular, like, how has Ollie contributed to my body? And I looked at it and I was like, well, and animals in general, but looking at horses, I'm like, they don't judge. There's nothing in their world where they're like looking back at their body going, this is not big enough, this is too small, this is that. They don't have anything in their world that even remotely resembles judgment. They don't do time, they don't do right and wrong, they don't do expectation. They do, I'm going to show up as me, and I'm going to do what I need to do to create myself and my life and my future. So what if, like, you could also look at that when you're looking at trying to change some of this stuff around judgment and just around judging your body. Like, if you can, get around nature or an animal and ask some questions in that setting, in that environment, and see if that is a contribution to you changing it as well. Because it's the same with like the trees, the flowers, the birds, the bees, the insects, the animals. They're never like, oh, I'm not good enough. It's like, I'm going to show up every day. I'm going to do my best, because I might get eaten. I might get chopped down. I might, they don't show up and go, oh shit, I need to, have better feathers, brighter feathers, or my leaves aren't quite green enough today. They're like, here, I'm going to soak up the sun. Hopefully we might even get a little bit of rain today. Where can I interact with the world as me, as the energy of me, not about how I look. So I'm going to wrap it up with that. Like, if you acknowledge that sometimes you judge your body, and you acknowledge that it's not actually a good way to create a better body or a better relationship with your body, or the body that you actually desire. If you acknowledge that judgment is actually not creating much of anything for you, then start to look at, okay, what if I just changed it a little bit every day? So think about that like piggy bank analogy. Where can I add some coins to my piggy bank of changing judgment today? And if you can, get out in nature or with some animals and be around them and ask some questions about judgment. And don't have any fun with it, whatever you do. Don't have any fun with your body today, because having fun with it definitely won't get you out of judgment. And what about if that was a question? Hey, body, what would be fun for you today? Cool. Thank you. Thanks, Jody. Thanks, everyone that came on and watched, and anyone watching after, please leave your comments. Oh, I wanted to ask you as well, and maybe that's not, No, I think we'll leave it at that. Thank you for being in this group. Thank you for being on my live, and whatever you're up to in the world, have fun. Ask your body what would be fun for it, and go out and try some new things. Ask your body, hey, what have we not tried before that we could try that would be fun for you? And I look forward to seeing you guys on the next live or whatever we get up to in the group. And please leave your suggestions. Anything you want me to do, Facebook Lives or anything like that. I'd love to hear from you. Bye, everyone.